Welcome back on Polity. If you're just joining us, you've missed a lot because we just finished an overview of our week in review. But nevertheless, it's never too late to start from somewhere. Today with us, we have Mr. Ejiro Onuata with us in the studio. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome, sir. Of course, we'll be reviewing every and anything that has happened in the political scene this week. And of course, we start with Ahmed Lawan's case with Supreme Court. It was said to win over the week. Mr. Ejiro, what's your general overview and what's your take on this?
Well, when I heard about that judgment, it was sad.
Okay.
It was a sad day for democracy because how do you come about somebody who did not really partook in the primaries to now become the party candidate for that particular senatorial seat? I mean, it's quite sad because, okay, yes, the argument that the APC is supposed to have cancelled the first election because they claim there was a second primaries that they held. But then we all know all the waters that pass under the bridge. You know, it's quite sad that they had to come up with all this because Nigerians are watching. And a lot of persons feel really sad because we've seen something like this happen in Imo State. And now we're saying this. So how do you want Nigerians to feel? It goes to tell you that, hey, you just don't worry yourself. When it's time, you just need to do the abracadabra and you find yourself there.
Speaking of, you just need to do whatever you want and everything will be fine. And that's still on the Supreme Court. You know, the Supreme Court said the old Naira notes should still be a legal tender for everyone. But then people are still coming up to call the rebuff. Of course, you cannot spend the old Naira note now. And that has what has been on everybody's mouth starting from Monday. Okay, maybe everybody thought it was going to probably come down a bit and then Naira would probably circulate. What's your general overview about basically Nigerians, or let's say the electorates and Supreme Courts generally?
There's so much confusion right now in the polity. A lot of persons are confused. They don't even know what to really believe, because on one hand we have the Supreme Court, on the other hand we have the CBN, and Nigerians are caught up in between these two bodies. So they just don't understand. And the other day I saw a video of Malam Nasir El-Rufai, the governor of Kaduna State, saying that, oh, the old note is still a legal tender, go ahead, get these notes. If they give you the notes, don't reject it. And you know, this is a leader. A lot of persons listen to him. Now the Supreme Court came out on the other hand to say, okay, everybody just maintains status quo. You're still going to use this money. While the CBN is saying today is the deadline, how much have they really done to circulate this information to Nigerians? I mean, that Nigerian living in a rural area, how much have they really done to? Because there's confusion in the system, whether you like it or not. Today, a lot of commuters don't even want to take that money. If you're using the old Naira notes, they tell you, hey, I can't really take that. I mean, these are 3 governors took the federal government to court, and the Attorney General Malami came out to say, okay, yes, it's okay if you have like 2 governors, 2 states having a battle, they cannot approach the Supreme Court, yes. Okay, and if you're having an issue with the Federation of Nigeria, you can approach the Supreme Court. But in this case, they took the federal government and the CBN to court. So Malami's argument is that the Supreme Courts don't really have that jurisdiction to entertain that case. You understand? Because he's saying that it's just 3 governors, not the 36
states,
state governors. Of course, we saw the governor of Edo State came out to say that, hey, we are not all against the new Naira note. It was in the papers today. He said something like that. And these are the arguments. Nigerians are caught in between. Nigerians are confused. So who do we believe? Because some persons will tell you that at one time, oh, the president has really disobeyed court orders. So do we still follow what the president wants, or do we follow the Supreme Court?
But looking at it generally, you know, Nigerians are actually not even accepting the old Naira notes again. And before we continue, please, our phone lines are on for you to call in and make your contributions, of course, join in the conversation. And yet, like I was saying, there should be a synergy between the CBN, the governors, and the federal government. But right now, even the Supreme Court, they are standing aloof. Everybody feels like, so do you think, like I've always asked, should there have been a policy that would have been put in place to make everything come together? Because now it looks like everybody's just doing their own thing.
What I think is there's a breach in communication. Okay, the National Orientation Agency should have stepped in. They should have been able to brief Nigerians. There should be this synergy between the Nigerian people and the CBN. All right, we need to understand what the CBN wants to do, because a lot of Nigerians don't even know what are the benefits of changing the Naira note. Yeah. Okay, the National Orientation Agency should have really gone to the rural areas, starting from the rural areas, because that is where people who can be misled, that is where they are. All right, they should have done that, educate these persons, using all manner of strategies to really get them to understand the benefits of this Naira note, because as it is now, the Nigerian people don't really understand the benefits of this changing the Naira note, of which there's a whole lot of benefits.
Okay, please, can you go ahead and of course tell our viewers part of the benefits? If you can list, we wouldn't mind.
Part of the benefit.
All that while we take this call.
All right.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for calling the Polity. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. This is that Captain TV.
Yeah, this is Captain TV. Please make your contributions here on the Polity. Your name and
okay. I'm Hadiza Balafra calling from Kano.
Okay, ma'am.
I'm a civil society activist. Watching the news now recently, but I felt that if actually really the government really is doing all this for the benefit of the common man, and this we need to have, you see, we need to have like an awareness creation. Why do they even want to change the currency?
Please, can you move away from your TV set so we can hear you clearly, ma'am?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly now. Please make your contributions.
You know, they need to educate the common man. They need to educate all of us. They need to engage the civil society forum. You know, let's get to the grassroots. Tell them, get them on why it is very important. The cashless policy is important. You know, they did not even tell us why they were even changing the currency. And they didn't even, you know, they didn't even tell us the importance of cashless policy. Educate us on why we need the cashless policy. Is this the right time? And look at it, even something, to even get the cash is a problem. And apart from even getting the cash, you know, you have money, you don't have access to your money. A lot of you people are dying, people are, you know, imposed, it's like an imposed poverty on us. I won't say the common man, because I'm also a common woman, suffering, trying to make ends meet at my own capacity. You see? So what is the importance of doing this? What is the logic behind it? Why do they do it? You see? Because like people like, when we are talking about the common man, talking about each area, how will do they even have an account? You know, the government is even supposed to start encouraging, sensitizing people, educating them on the importance of having accounts. Then most of these people in other areas don't even have accounts, talkless of transfer. You said you should start transferring. So, you know, who even to transfer? And even to transfer, look, I made the transfer, they deputed me twice for almost days, almost week now. The money, and even the person I transferred the money to did not receive money.
Okay.
You know, they will say there is a network problem in the bank, the man in the hard-to-reach area.
Okay.
Does he know what is cashless policy? Does he even know how to transfer?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much.
This is imposed poverty.
Okay.
This is even the right time to do it. You just can't come overnight and start imposing laws and policy and start implementing policy that people are not even aware of, and people do not even know what the policy is.
I'm sure they can hear you. So that's the CBN. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ma, for that contribution. You have a good day. So you've heard them. What's your...
Yes, just like she said, they are supposed to sensitize the people in the rural
but actually
area.
they did sensitization,
But I don't think
maybe
it's
it's not enough.
It's not enough.
Yes,
They should have employed the
sensitization.
services of the emirs, the chiefs,
and
using
traditional
town
rulers,
criers.
basically.
Yes, to go around into the hinterland to really tell people, educate them, and equally give them the new Naira note so that they have a feel of what it looks like, because we've seen on social media how they've been able to counterfeit some of these notes.
Okay.
Equally, you show them how to get to understand when you say counterfeit, how do you know it? All right, I don't think a lot of persons are aware, because right now there's a whole lot of counterfeit notes in the system that you don't even know. And people use it as legal tender. So you need to show them how to, because I saw on social media how you could see the note very new and clean, but when they dipped it inside a bucket of water, you just discover it melts.
It melts. Oh.
That gets to show you how counterfeit that money is.
That money is.
All right. So this new Naira policy is a good one.
Okay.
But you see, nothing good comes easy. No pain and no gain.
No pain, no gain.
So Nigerians will just have to endure so that we can reap the benefit of it.
Okay.
You know, if you could notice, in the past few weeks, they've not been kidnapping. We've not heard anything about kidnapping. That's to tell you that even the kidnappers knew that, hey, if you kidnap somebody, there's no money to give you.
Money to give you. All right, please hold that thought while we quickly take this call. Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for calling the Polity.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Please, what your name and where you're calling from?
Ambrose is calling from Owerri.
Okay, please make your contribution.
Yeah, my contribution on the program is that I think it's a result of sabotage, you know, because the banks are not cooperating. If the banks were cooperating, I think people wouldn't have suffered all this. Why are they holding the money? You remember in 1984, the same Buhari changed the currency, and it took just for only 2 weeks. You know, India in 2016 under Modi did their own within 4 hours. They changed their 500 and 1,000 rupees just within 4 hours. You know, in fact, overnight. That's what we call it, overnight, and it worked. So in this case, over 90 days, you know, and people are suffering. Why are people suffering? Because the banks and the people that are concerned refuse to cooperate among themselves. There are sabotage here and there. If you see what's happening, you know, there are sabotage here and there concerning this particular change now that is happening. That's the way I look at it.
All right.
If it was seamless and it's well done, people are not holding money, they are releasing the money right from the one they got this money. The money would have still gone, you know, to people.
Okay.
That's the way I look at it. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much for calling. So what's your take on this?
Yeah, he made mention of India.
India
did the same thing within 4 hours. They had issues too.
Okay.
They had issues, but they were able to tackle those issues. So Nigerians, I believe, will be able to tackle this issue. Of course, some persons are trying to sabotage the system because part of the reason they give for changing the new Naira note is to curb vote buying. And let me tell you, some of these politicians equally had access to some of these banks. So I'm not surprised if they've been able to lay their hands on the new Naira notes, and they're in collaboration with some of these bank managers. So,
but compare this to what would have happened before. Do you think the vote buying would have actually been sporadical, just like, let's just take for instance, okay, now they've changed Naira notes. Some politicians are aggrieved about it. The other ones are said to have even had access to it. So could it be said that the ones that do not have access are the ones coming out to say, oh, of course we hear the cabals right now, that's what is in vogue now. The cabals are against us. That is why they changed the Naira notes. That is why there's fuel scarcity. Not saying the layman right now is actually suffering. So what is your general overview on this?
Well, my take on this is that if you are complaining that they changed the Naira notes because they don't want you to win the election, automatically what does that tell you? It tells you that probably these persons they've stockpiled cash and they want to buy vote. Yes, that's one angle to it, because if you see governors complaining and the other governors are not complaining, what is the difference? I mean, there's something in it that makes you to complain. why are you complaining? If these guys really care about Nigerians, ASUU was on strike for 8 months, you didn't go to
some
court.
people have actually come out to also refute that education is one thing, then cash is another thing.
My dear,
education is for some people, meanwhile cash
is for
affects
everybody. You're correct. How about power? There's been an epidemic. Yes,
going down,
so they didn't go to court for that. How about killings? We've been hearing about killings everywhere. They didn't take the federal government to court for that.
So now they're taking court.
Now you are taking the federal government to court because it involved money and it involved election. So you see, you can't take away the fact that what is happening now will definitely affect the coming election, because it goes to tell you that some persons no longer had access to the cash to buy votes. And another dangerous twist to it is this: people are hungry in our cities. If they don't have cash, on that day, it means the few politicians who have access to the rice, beans, and what have you will have a few days.
So I feel like Nigerians know better right now, because of course, from what the data and analysis people have done over time, we realize that the number of registered voters this year has exceeded. And according to even INEC chairman, when he was at Chatham House, he said we're literally conducting election for the whole West Africa. It feels like that from the number of people that have registered for this said election. And now moving away from that, now moving to fuel scarcity. Basically, let's just wrap it in one. How do you think this is even going to affect the election, both the fuel scarcity, the money drama going on right now, and of course everybody's agitated, everybody's aggravated, there's been riots, there's been fights in different towns and cities right now. How do you think this would actually affect the next election?
It's true, because if you don't have fuel to move around, it means a lot of persons will not go out prior to the election. I mean, because some persons usually travel to their area of where they register to, so that they can cast their vote. It means they can't do that. And if you don't have cash, how do you even intend to travel? You can't travel. All right. If you don't have these two things, it will definitely affect the election. In fact, INEC, it will affect INEC as well, because yes, we know the NNPC, the INEC is looking at collaborating with some filling station or thereabout, something like that. But then the person is going out to vote. If there's so much riot right now, like you said, we've seen so much protest everywhere, some persons will be apprehensive, and that can lead to voter apathy. Some persons will feel like, why will I even go out? In fact, some persons are aggrieved right now, because I spoke with a lot of persons, and some of them are like, why will I even vote for anybody with all this suffer? Because the most annoying thing is having your money and you can't access your money when you need it. It's quite annoying, and a whole lot of Nigerians are going through that process right now, and they don't have to. If you don't have money, it's a different ball game. But you have money, you can't even access your money. In fact, you can't even do transfer to start with.
But you made mention of benefits of this said policy, but you've not even given us a breakdown of.
I told you about it has been able to curb kidnapping. To at least temporarily. We've not been hearing about kidnapping. That's on one part. All right, and then we're equally looking at it will curb vote buying. Yes, because I don't think the politicians will have a field day. You know, normally during an electionary season like this, you hear of a whole lot of campaign, people sharing rice, beans, salt, what have you. But I don't think I've heard any of that going around now.
Wouldn't that even be easier? I mean, you can easily just make transfers to whoever is going to supply your rice.
Is the transfer even going now? That's another part to it.
That's true.
You see, some days ago, I had to do some transfers. I tried it the first time, it didn't go through. Second, third. After putting my PIN, you know, that's the last process.
That's the last process, yeah.
I did like 4 or 5 times, it didn't go through. So I was like, okay, fine. I had to look for a means to pay for what I bought. But around 12 a.m., I started receiving a debit. And you know what that means. You know, I saw the first one, the second one, the third one. I was like, what? So you see, the transfers are not even going through. So one will ask, how come we don't have cash and the network are not cooperating? Is it as a result of traffic or sabotage?
Well, it still buttresses what I said earlier on, that do you think the CBN could have done better I mean, for them to make this policy, there should be a background policy that supports it to say, oh, if this doesn't work out, this should work out. Because right now, everyone is complaining about the same thing over and over again. And do you feel they were actually underprepared for this right now?
It looks like something that they were in a rush. They took a very
rush decision.
They didn't really think it through to find out if it was really going to work easily with Nigerians, because the news out there is that, oh, this is targeted at certain politicians. Some persons will even tell you that Emefiele is aggrieved that he didn't get the ticket, so he wants to punish other politicians. We've heard a whole lot out there. All right, yeah, but for me, I would have preferred the experiment this policy with the three largest cities in Nigeria, like Lagos, Kano, and maybe Port Harcourt. You know, the cashless policy, to see how it fares, because you just throwing the whole Nigeria into this. Now we're having network issues. It's quite sad. You know, they didn't really think it through. Yeah, I think.
Is there anything they could have done better?
Sensitization would have been the key, because if you school me through why you're doing something for me, and I see the benefit, I'll be able to at least, you know, face the pain, hoping that there will be a better light tomorrow at the end of the tunnel. Because if Nigerians are very understanding people, if you school them through why this cashless policy is of benefit to the economy and to them, they'll be able to sustain themselves, you know, prepare very well, save some cash probably, because we are told that bring your old cash to the bank, and now it's that old cash you are buying. And where are they getting this money from? The POS guys, from the bank. The other day I saw the headlines that some of these POS guys get the money from filling stations. They buy the money from filling stations. Some filling stations now don't even accept transfer.
It's cash.
It's cash. Why? Because two things are involved. It's either they want to resell the cash to POS guys, or the transfers are not going through.
Okay, all right, you've heard him. Let's take this quick break, and when we return, the polity continues.
National Council of Nigeria has given directive, and we are standing on the directive again, that all our state chapters should begin in national protest from tomorrow, spanning for 1 week, to pour out our dismay, our mind, our non-contented, our unhappiness about the current situation in our dear state. We cannot live in a state where we cannot guarantee how we move out to go and get our daily needs. My dear colleagues, Nigerians, few Nigerian youth and people do we want to go back to the current plight of countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, and other sub-Sahara states. God forbid. These drivers of the economy are putting us in the fast trade lane, the Nigerian being the direct victim of their economic quagmire points to this direction. You might wish to know that the most intervention program that they mapped out for Nigerian youth have not been well managed under those that drives our economy. The actual youth who are in their need of this fund, who are being rolled out, do not get them as a when due.
Few days to the general election, awareness and sensitization was carried out in Yanyan community in the Federal Capital Territory to enable a free and fair election. At the town hall meeting on electoral violence prevention in Abuja, the Executive Director, Center for Peace Advocacy and Sustainable Development, Igweshi Augustine, said that the campaign is to address issues of violence, vote buying, and other vices that have characterized the political and electoral processes since Nigeria returned to democracy.
We are targeting Yanya community to enable them to have a peaceful election. So we have two specific objectives: to sensitize them on violence-free election as well as on peaceful coexistence. Any youth who happens to use himself or herself as a tool to perpetrate electoral violence. I would describe such youth as somebody who do not have a future to advance. Our target are the communities. We see that sometimes because of lack of education, they are vulnerable. Because of their vulnerability and they are very gullible, they can easily be used to perpetrate electoral violence. That's why we are targeting them, to exercise them, for them to understand the importance of peaceful election.
Some of the clerics advised youth to shun violence. They also kicked against ethnicity and tribal politics.
Common action for peace is the hallmark of our foundation. It is indeed crucial for strengthening diversities, respecting differences, building the capacities of faith leaders and their communities in interfaith dialogue for peace. The Nigerian youth, rather than involving in talking, can be a source of encouragement to the voters during this election by assisting the security agencies personnel during the forthcoming election in ensuring the polling units are safe with no intimidation and harassment of voters.
Also speaking, an educationist, Igwe Blessing, spoke on the role of women and mothers as an advocate against voter apathy.
The conversations, will ensure that you have a much more peaceful society, because the truth about it is that our mothers at home are very much important and very critical stakeholders in terms of development of the country and the community at large. It would make good sense to have women in terms of ensuring that this sensitization that is happening is trickled down to them, so that they also have the opportunities to also sensitize their family, their wards, and their peers as well.
Others urge youth to vote candidates for national interests.
Actually, from what I've deduced so far is what we are preaching is exactly what is replicating here. From the first speaker down to the last person within the community, they understand. Even the community people said they don't want a situation whereby somebody will only come to the community during an election and come and share money and drug for the child, for the youth to go and snatch ballot board. The only thing they want is a credible candidate that is going to give them the dividend of democracy at the end of the election, not somebody that will jettison and abandon them after the election to their fate. They want somebody that will transform their environment, that will bring the desired result of a dividend of democracy to their environments.
The theme for the meeting is community sensitization, pathway to violent-free elections and peaceful coexistence. It encourages non-violent and peaceful conduct of the 2023 general elections through advocacy and community organizing.
We, in the concerned stakeholders of Hyperdeck host states, Youth Wing, suspect that protesting worker and group may have been intimidated by the MD, which explained their sudden back down in the struggle for probity, transparency, and accountability in Hyperdeck. However, we wish to assure all stakeholders in Hyperdeck and the nation in general that, in line with the determination of President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, to fight down corruption in Nigeria, we have resuscitated this matter and see it to a logical conclusion. We must state categorically at this point that the concerned stakeholder of Hyperdeck host states, Youth Wing, has no bias for or against anyone in this struggle. But based on our action report, which are in the public domain already, we cannot go on sweeping allegation of this magnitude under the carpet and expect to make progress as a people.
A lot, but let's still move on at that. And now over to my guest in the studio with us is Ejiro Nwata. Forgive my pronunciation.
It's fine.
All right, now we'll move on to universities taking 3 weeks break. My question is this the right time, given that for registration, most of the students were back at home to register. Then when collection of PVCs happened, most of them were in school. And now they are going to take the next 3 weeks to go for break. For what?
Well, I think it's better you have them at home.
Okay.
All right, where their parents can actually look after them than keep them in school, where politicians can actually influence them and use them for violence. When you talk about election thuggery and the rest, is young people. I've never seen an elderly man going for that. These young persons, they
But
use.
shouldn't they have the opportunity to actually exercise their authority and basic human rights, access to voting, of course?
Of course, some of them already have their PVC.
Okay.
Their voters card.
Okay.
And during that period, I know some of them equally went back home to get theirs.
To get theirs.
So I don't think they will be disenfranchised.
Okay.
All right. So I want to believe they probably will partake in whatever is going on. But it's good you have them at home,
okay,
so that you can really checkmate them. Because if you don't, they'll be idle that period. And you know what they say about being idle.
Okay.
All right. So it's better we just have them back home.
Have them. Okay, right now. Thank you very much for that. And now let's just in 60 seconds, I'd like you to tell viewers at home what you feel is going to happen for this next election, and then your general overview, of course, about this present administration.
Well, for me, I think the INEC should prepare for a rerun.
Okay.
Because if you look at the election, it's a very critical one.
Okay.
Now, it's no longer the APC-PDP team. Now we have the Labour Party and, by extension, the NNPP.
Yeah.
All right. So you can't really take any of these persons for granted. If you look at Kano State, NNPP would definitely get some votes, a large chunk of the vote there. Yeah. Equally, the APC will get a large chunk of the vote there, and the PDP as well. It's only the Labour Party that you can't really say, okay, they'll get a good number of votes from Kano. But if you look at Lagos State, the Labour Party will get a good number of votes there. The APC will do the same, as well as the PDP. All right. So if you really look at then in Port Harcourt, the Labour Party will get a good vote there. The PDP as well. The APC to an extent. Yeah. Now, you see, I think at this point, INEC should prepare for a rerun, because these 3 or 4 parties would definitely want to put in their best. And at the end of the day, if there's a rerun, I know some parties will merge with others in order to get a victory.
Okay, now your overview on this administration.
Wow. This administration, they said a lot in 2014 when they were campaigning, but we've not been able to see them match what they say with what is on ground now. All right. A lot was expected from them, but Nigerians are kind of disappointed.
So is it safe to say they left a legacy?
They left a legacy of saying what they were unable to achieve.
So the change they promised.
You see, the problem with Nigeria is you didn't ask what kind of change.
Okay. So it's safe to say next time when they promise you something, you have to be specific.
Interrogate them.
Interrogate them.
Ask them. What kind of change are you talking about? Positive or negative?
Okay.
Forward or backward?
No, backward.
What really are you saying?
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ejiro. It was really nice to have you on the program.
Thank you.
And we hope we'll see you once again before the election or after the election, of course. Sure. And this is where we bring to an end the polity for today. I am Mercy Babajide. See you next week. Bye. Have a great day.